T-Minus has become J. Cole's go-to producer, but what is it that makes his beats stand out? First, let's listen to The London by J. Cole, Young Thug and Travis Scott.
Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one.
This beat sounds simple, but there's lots of little details that we can learn from. To start making something similar, I used this mandolin. The chords are a simple 1/5 progression that's been arpeggiated. To give it that detuned sound, I added a H910 harmonizer and a Volf compressor. On top of that, you can hear a lead counter melody. It sounds like a flute, so I used this one shot from Synth Diaries. From there, T-Minus added a completely different section for the verses. First, he replaced a detuned string with a softer bell. Then on top of that is a pulsating pad with some glitchy effects. First, find a pad sound. I got this from Synth Diaries. Copy the chords across, but this time make sure they're not arpeggiated. Next, I added a shaper box and a reverse sidechain effect. Then I bounced it to audio and reversed it. Finally, I added a Synth Diaries Portal preset to give it that glitchy texture, and it sounds like this. To finish off the sample, I wanted to take inspiration from Middle Child. On top of the sample he flipped, T-Minus added these synth textures that took the beat to another level. First is this plucky sound. After that is a very subtle pad that adds so much texture. He even mentions how you can hardly hear it in the song.
You don't really hear it until like the end of the record essentially, but it's playing throughout the music.
T-Minus never does too much, and that includes his drums as well. To make something similar to the drums on The London, I added this clap and hi-hats. To further the bounce, he added a perk, something like this. To finish it all off, there's an 808 and a kick. One slight switch up I added was with the hi-hats. In Middle Child, T-Minus added a stuttered pattern.
It's actually very reminiscent of KOD because a lot of it's very like stuttery kind of hats, you know what I mean? They're very short, but you know, rhythmic.
So I added something similar. T-Minus is also a big fan of sampling. He's done it many times, including on 100mm by J. Cole.
How come a nigga ain't into his prime, still getting better after all this time?
This song samples There's Something Wrong by Double Exposure, a disco group from the 70s. However, for our beat, I want to go one step further and actually make a sample similar to this one from scratch. If you struggle to make these kind of progressions, start with a bass line and then add the chords on top. That's what I did for this beat. In this style of sample, there's always going to be a bunch of real instruments, of course including a piano. To make it sound unique, I put it in mono and automated the sample rate knob to give it some texture at certain points. I also added a room reverb, compressor and EQ. Another element you can hear in this beat is the bongos playing in the background, so I found a bongo loop on Splice, added it in and panned it to the right. Probably the most noticeable sound in the sample is the brass. So first I added a main sound alongside a softer brass sound underneath. To complement this, I did 3 string layers. Again, they all use different melodies and fill different spaces to give that really grand feeling. And to finish it all off, we have some vocals. I found them on Splice and dropped them in. Make sure to note some of the elements, including the bongos and vocals, are intentionally left unfiltered. We want it to sound like a sample from a real song. Having said that, I made another section where I filtered the vocals slightly. I took inspiration for this from another T- produced track, March 14th by Drake.
Yesterday morning was crazy. I had to come to terms with the fact that it's not a maybe.
The vocals are reversed and filtered, so I gave our sample a section similar. I added a flanger and reverb before lowering the sample rate to 2000. I started the drums with a clap, snare and hi-hat. After that is some extra percussion. Before finally the kick and 808.